Hi, welcome to The Pursuit of Truth. It is the 19th of June 2018. I was watching Sky News this morning. There's two things. As expected in yesterday's edition of The Pursuit of Truth, I mentioned about, I suspect we're going to be paying for this NHS thing because Sky were using these statistics, this poll that had been done, that suggested that most of us, 2/3 of us, would agree, and lo and behold, Theresa May said, we would have to pay more. Do you think it's going to be all of us? I bet it's going to be all of us. It won't be just the rich people who have lots of abundance of money, who have stacks in the bank that they don't even spend or may never even spend in their whole lifetime. It won't be them. It'll be every single one of us, because they'll probably say, well, the lower income people use the NHS more. Well, if that's the case, you've got to ask, why is that then? Anyway, I'm not going to get into that politics. The other thing, just before I go on to the next point, is how we've been conditioned to use stats and averages as some kind of exact science, whereas they're not. A poll, if you do, like, we know that all the election polls, they're usually wrong, aren't they? When they say, oh, this is going to be the winner and by this amount and these seats, and they do this by exit polls. Polls are just guesses, they're averages, but we use that as some kind of exact, well, people believe in it as if it's something really important, like that's why they used that in that story, saying that 2/3 of us wouldn't mind paying for the NHS, as if it was some kind of fact, as if it's news. It's just, it's not, unless you ask every single person, you're not going to get a proper answer, a truthful reflection. But they're allowed to get away with this lying in plain sight by suggesting, well, we can't ask everyone, so this is just the way that we do it. We ask 1,000 people, and those random 1,000 people give us a picture of the whole of the 60 million. Really? That's ludicrous, isn't it? But that's how we live. That's how we've been conditioned to live. That polls and averages are fine to use. We can use them, and people can take that as fact. And it's sort of a brainwashing in a way, because they will, and anyway, there's certain ways, if you want to get a certain answer, you can do those things. If you're only asking 1,000 people, you can pick those 1,000 people, using demographics, by going to certain locations. Like I said, in that one, if they're going into a hospital and they ask people that, or if they went into the job centre and asked people that, they might have got two completely different types of answer. So, and especially like if your sample is so small, what is a sample that could represent 60 million people? What is a sample? How many would it have to be accurate and not misleading in factual? But there's lots of this that goes on in our lives that we take, which brings us to our next thing. I was on Sky News this morning, they were talking about cannabis oil. It's because of this case that's going on where this boy, I think he's an Irish boy, he got his medicine from America, they got seized at Heathrow, and now they've given him a special license so they can use it. And what interested me, not about the cannabis thing, but the way that we will defend certain things, and especially like the official view or government view. Like the presenter was sort of suggesting, was sort of not playing devil's advocate, but was the panelist was sort of saying, it's less harmful than alcohol and stuff like that. But the panelist the presenter gave one example where someone died of using recreational cannabis, but it's completely different from medical cannabis. That's like saying that someone took an overdose of paracetamol, so we should ban paracetamol or something. But the fact is that how we are conditioned as people, I know me, we're conditioned what's good and what's not. If you look at it in honesty, I don't know about cannabis, but we know that alcohol is bad for you. We know that smoking is bad for you. So why is it some bad things are allowed for you, but other bad things are not allowed for you? And I'm sure someone's going to say, well, you know, cannabis is far, far worse. It's makes you psychotic, makes you this, that, and the other. Alcohol doesn't make you psychotic. No, cannabis, it kills young people. Wait a minute, alcohol doesn't kill young people? Surely alcohol is the biggest killer in this country. So why is it we have certain things that we are allowed, but the main thing is that we argue for control. Yet don't we all believe that we should be free, and that we should be free to be free? But what is it in us then that will argue? You know, I would argue that drugs are bad. Why would I argue that? Because that's what I've been taught. Isn't it interesting how, are these our thoughts, or are these others' thoughts that we've been gifted through teaching and TV and etc.? Why do we argue for control? Well, it's because we want to live in a fair world, a safe world. Are we really thinking that when we're arguing, or we're just doing it? Because if someone asks you a question, oh, is drugs bad? You'll just say, yeah, they're bad. You won't even think about it. That response has already been made. It just interests me how we do argue for things that we don't even need to think about whether we do believe in them or not, and how we're arguing to be controlled rather than being free. Interesting that. Take care, take it easy, God bless, and peace.